Exceed team come out stronger than what they were at DreamHack. That seems to be the expectation weighing down on them was, yeah, they only lost to Team Falcons when they were there, but that was 2 months ago. And there's some questions on how serious is Exceed taking their practice leading to this event.
Well, from what I've heard about Peterbot and being on the marksman, there is that expectation from me. I want to see pop-off clips.
Yes.
I want to see those big moments where he can change the game for his side, and this is going to be the best chance, if ever, against a power team that have looked a little bit lackluster at times, maybe don't have the same amount of practice, and Peterbot might just be able to style on them all game here.
The other side of things, though, for Power, what we've been hearing, the whispers around the community, is that these guys have been grinding over the last 2 months. Of course, that was represented in what they were able to do in their regional qualifier, looking really, really solid throughout the OCE qualifier to get here last month. And there is a little bit of a LAN experience when they played at DreamHack. The results weren't necessarily great, but hey, the work has apparently been really paying off, at least in their region.
I think watching Power, one of the main things they struggled with was the usage of bubble and utility in general. I'd love to see if that's changed now with some more practice going into this, but it looks like game one, it's underway.
Let's get it on. We got Chalet for CTF for map number 1. What we've really seen a lot of teams do is this. How do you work the middle of the map to try to get some control, find a pivot point, see if you can win out one of these engagements towards the windows, and then make your first push. Power on the move, but it is a 2-for-1 for the side of Exceed.
It's already Peterbot on the board as well. And if Peterbot can get those openings, it will allow everyone just to push through, get closer to that flag, but it's all about taking space here on the map. Just one step at a time, force those spawns back before you start moving it.
Yeah, you have Power trying to play a little bit of recovery through the top side at Tunnel, but Quanti has already gotten the pull, and he is out of there. So quick recovery already in for Exceed. Great start for them. Again, this is what you want, is that opening map 1 to go better than what it was in DreamHack.
Yeah, I think after seeing the performance at DreamHack, they'll be a little bit frustrated with that second place, but they have beaten everyone else except Falcons, right? So they'll know that they are a confident side who can get the job done, as you can already see. Power now starting to have a chance down Tunnel here. Getting those 2 kills will open up some space to work with.
That's the big thing here is, when do you find the opportunity to actually commit for this play? This is a very difficult flag to pull, which is why we often see squads struggling throughout this Tunnel push, because it's just one long choke point. So Exceed, very aware of the play, deal with one. It looks like Peterbot also knows that Volks is playing over here through this cave side. So lots of attention to try to finish out this last Power member on their offense. There's the challenge. Good response from Volk, but can't find the second. Exceed now on the offense.
Yeah, great cleanup by Peterbot there, and acknowledging that his teammate was going to push through and just being there to back things up. That's what you have to do together, work to make sure you get those trades, and it will ensure that no easy push is going to be made on that flag. As now Power, they have controlled this tunnel fairly successfully.
It seems to be what they really want to focus on is use the tunnel as their main muse, their main setup, and if they need to track back towards defense, they can do that very easily. Plus the opportunity to kind of hit the cuts over through mid, which is currently what Looter is trying to do. So, again, Power staying aggressive, I like it, but Peterbot has snuck through. Keep your eye on him in the minimap. There's an opportunity where he may be able to find a counter pull.
Yeah, if Peterbot can get an angle and also, as you say, get that pull on the go, it could really shake things up for Power because they are trying to make a play for this flag. Bubble's gone down.
Focus in a little bit of trouble. He will drop Power. They go 2-for-1, but it's not comfortable enough, at least not at the moment, to find some sort of a pull. At least they do get it over towards Cave side, and it looks like they've got mid-map control, so this actually may work out. Meelks is trying to get here quickly. The nades are so well placed, and that could be one of the issues when it comes to trying to actually pull this through Cave side.
That is a great grenade, but it looked like it's not going to affect them, and it should be a flag and will be a flag on the flip side. So Exceed making it 2-0 just when you thought Power were going to have that chance to get back in the game.
The thing about it, I really respect the fact that Power is not really laying back. They're trying to set the tone. The problem is they're not counting their numbers well. We say this a lot of, okay, who have you seen in the kill feed? Who have you been able to tally in terms of where they are? Because that time they missed Peterbot completely, and it turns into a 2-0 first half for now. Volk's doing a nice job, though. Again, just kind of keeping the pressure on the extremities. Looking good for Power to keep the offensive tempo up.
That's a couple of times Volks has got a big kill for the team, but then he gets shut down immediately, and I think that's what you've got to ensure to do here. Don't allow anyone to start to get too confident and begin to pop off, as now you can see they are making their way through to see if they can get a little bit closer towards this flag and surrounding some of these members of Exceed.
Yeah, keep your eye on Worthy. I was about to say he's got Peterbot nearby, but the 1v1 goes the way of Exceed. So now Power have to default just kind of playing through mid-map and just trying to receive this next push coming out from Exceed.
It does seem like Power are trying to go for a pinch each time. 2-2 split often. Sometimes the 3-1 split to see if they can catch a couple of members of Exceed off guard on their spawn. As there's going to be a defensive bubble here from Volks. That is a very interesting bubble to use, but clearly they were worried about a play here, and they do find it.
Oh, Meelks good for the first, doesn't find the second, so now Power starts to make their play forward. Quanti in trouble. Volks looking to try to find the chase down, but Quanti stayed alive for so long. That allows a couple of respawns to start to come through here for Falcons, but Power's finding every single kill. Should be enough for a pull here. Just comes down to can they find an exit.
All the momentum with Power at the moment. It is going to be a flag pull. Does just about get round the corner here, but I'm unsure whether... Oh, he's able to get the job done as well, and this flag will keep moving.
Whoa, and that little siphon is massive for Volks. He stays alive. He gets over towards Pool. He's looking clear and good to go. No one for Exceed can come back towards this. So, again, this relenting presence from Power eventually works out. We've got a 2-1 score.
Well, we talk about taking space. That's exactly what Power were able to do in those last kind of 30 and 40 seconds. Speaking of, only 24 seconds left in this round right now. So it might not be enough to get a pull and get it back for this first initial half.
Well, there's going to be a battle between Looter and Peterbot. Goes the way of Power. That may open things up for them to maybe get one more attempt, but doesn't look like that's going to happen. A little double stack here at mid just to make sure no crazy antics happen. But first reactions, Power look good.
Judging by the practice that's put in by Power, it seems like they are not scared to go up against an Exceed roster that, as you mentioned, dominated at DreamHack, only falling short to Falcon. So you'd expect them to maybe be kind of easily winning this one, but it was the control we saw from Power, just walking their way up and pinning back Exceed in their base.
The only thing that Exceed had going for them was the fact that Peterbot, and I think it was Milks was the other, or Quanti was the other, didn't get seen as they were trying to make a play across the map. Everything else, though, for Power has been pretty clean, just the exception of those two little openings that they just, unfortunately, were not able to track down those Exceed members that slipped through.
I mean, if it wasn't for that grenade, it could have been a very different first half here, but we will still see Exceed have a 2-1 lead going into this one. We'll have to see whether Power can actually show their dominance once more as we flip the half.
Well, 1v1 over towards mid gives Exceed some control, at least over towards poolside. Quanti still thinking about playing up towards this long cave position, and both sides very respectful of one another here. Obviously, advantage here towards Exceed. They don't have to make a first move if they don't want to, due to the fact that they're currently up, and that's enough for Power to try to isolate over towards the outside, and Quanti does get 2 for 1. So now all of a sudden, you've got a second kill to follow up and Power on the offense again.
I think I saw Quanti on the Infiltrator as well to try and get that extra movement speed to grab that flag and be the one to actually get it back to your own base fast enough, but with Looter going down, maybe this opens things up to Exceed once more.
Nice. Really good for Milks on the engineer class. Keep that in mind, as he will likely be the linchpin for how you make your move towards that potential flagpole, just due to the shield bubble is so strong, but he's got to use it to keep himself alive. That's not going to work out, and Power continue to team work out these Exceed isolated members, and once again, they find themselves on the precipice of trying to break on through, bubble of their own, but Exceed trying to force the trades. Okus in trouble, and Power come out 3 for nothing, a chance to pull.
I'm loving the teamwork I'm seeing from Power. Certainly watching their scrims, the communication was very good with this Power roster, and they're very clear about where they want to be pushing, who should be pushing with them, and everything seems to be on the same page with them. But it just seems to be a matter of actual individual skill that is keeping Exceed ahead of things right
Absolutely the case. Worthy, last one alive for Power on the offense. He does get figured out and taken care of swiftly. So again, look how fast the control of the map starts to come through here with Exceed finding a clean elimination. And now it's an opportunity to see if Okus can kind of catalyze something here towards the front side of the powerhouse.
Well, it looks like Quanti's in the tunnel and everyone else is kind of focusing mid-map and cave side right now. If they can get initial pick, draw a little bit of attention towards that right-hand side, Quanti can then flank on the left.
Keep in mind, though, that Power are still the team down. They have to be the ones to make the first move, and this line of scrimmage set by Exceed is being challenged, and it's being bounced off of pretty quickly. 1 for 1 the initial exchange. Peter playing inside the bubble, has Looter kind of captivated, and there's an opportunity here for Quanti to make that move you were talking about.
He does. He moves around the left and should be able to pick up the flag here, but there is going to be some spawns on the far left-hand side as well. Have to work hard to get these elims.
Quanti does get pushed off, low HP, dealt with at the middle of the map. 2 for 1 for Power. Now looking to take their numbers advantage forward. Okus in trouble, but slips away. Worthy on the hunt. Not a lot of help around at the moment, but it's on the way. Bubble down, pull, starting to come through, and Okus will retrieve it all the way back, so that will be a successful 3 capture for Exceed.
It was a great pinch from Exceed. The game plan was executed perfectly, but now Power have the chance to get a counter cap here. They do have a lot of control of this side of the map.
2 players inside the house. They know that Exceed have fully spawned out. Looter tries to make the first move. No bubble in place for Power, and Exceed will take care of it really nicely.
Great defensive play.
Yeah, very beautiful. And I think the thing is, for Power, you can't do much there. You know that all 3 Exceed members are going to spawn right behind the house.
As soon as you've got that capture, Exceed just went into defensive mode. They knew full well Power were going to try and go for some sort of counter cap. They just made sure they pushed together. And as you mentioned, good bubble usage to ensure they could isolate that fight as best as possible.
But now the heat in the kitchen starts to elevate just a touch for Power. They have to find something in the next 30 seconds or so to get themselves a lifeline in this map number 1. Good eliminations, though. 3 straight kills come through. Worthy also going to get the pull. Dynamite down. Shield bubble down. Absolutely brilliant zoning from Power. And Exceed are not going to be able to get any shots over towards Looter. Full HP. He should have the cap.
Flags moving, flags grooving, and looking at the spawns, there's not going to be anyone from Exceed to shut this one down. This is a guaranteed cap at this point, and there is still hope for Power. It's 3-2, remember. They just need to get one more, and it's 1 minute left on the clock.
And they're still keeping Exceed trapped in their spawn. 2 for 1 in the kill feed at the moment. Power very well may run a little bit of a convoy here. Volks and Worthy inside the house waiting for help, and Looter is back in the action, looking to, again, utilize that speed to get there.
This is a big moment for Exceed defensively here. If they go first down, they will struggle. And Peterbot has fallen here. Great awareness of where Peterbot was going to be sniping from.
Alex finds a second. Okus trying to save the day right outside the wagon. Finds Looter in the backside of the hard point. And that's going to be enough for them to hold on defensively, at least just for now. Worthy has to go quickly. 20 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, 20 seconds. Probably not enough time to get this flag all the way back. But of course, Power will go for it. They're not just going to roll over and show their bellies here.
A couple of nice shots from Worthy. But the follow-up, Exceed just taking over the middle of the map. That is 3 straight eliminations. So a heck of an effort for Power and a lot of resiliency shown. But still, Exceed, that individual skill coming out when it matters most, because that train looked like it was about to be ran there for a moment. Nice attempt for Power, but just a touch short in the end.
Exceed take the first game, but what we've learned is Power are going to make a series of this.
Oh, yeah.
They are not going to be easily defeated, and certainly strategy-wise, everything was there for Power. If it was not for that one grenade, I think that Power actually could have been the winners of this one.
I like the call. I think the thing about it here is you're seeing, you know, if you were to watch that one back again, you're seeing Power really take advantage of how are we playing this as a full squad. You mentioned it a couple of different times for Exceed. It did feel like there's a lot of individuals trying to make individual plays happen, with the only real exception being that setup for Quanti to get the pull from the first half down through tunnel side. That's what we need to see more of, I think, if you're an Exceed fan wanting them to go deep into this tournament run.
And I do wonder whether maybe Exceed underestimating Power a little bit.
Sure.
Like perhaps Exceed were very confident going into this one. You know, we came second at the qualifiers. We're one of the top teams in NA. Power, it will just be a walkover. And then going into that game, I think they are very quickly learning that Power are actually good enough here to go toe-to-toe with them, especially on the strategy side of things. Clearly, there were some moments where Exceed stood out individually, but now Power, they need to look at that game one and say, what can we learn from this, right?
Sure.
How can we actually develop going into match number 2? Because I think that they've got a genuine chance here in the series.
I agree. And look, we saw the interview with Peterbot. He's oozing confidence, to put it, plainly. And I think that's something that has come under critique from the NA audience who have watched is, look, like, yeah, Exceed, they were agent when they played at DreamHack Dallas. They looked great, but that was when the game modes were first being played, period. Now it's 2 months gone, and maybe the overconfidence is going to be kind of a boon towards them. Lots of questions, I think, in terms of how serious was Exceed taking this, and that may be a little bit of a wake-up call.
It's also all well and good being the best individual player or having the ability to 1v2 a team,
Sure.
but the strategy still needs to be there, especially for CTF, because the respawns are very quick in this mode, and you can be punished very fast as well if you are not moving that flag in the right direction. You don't have someone to cover.
Sure.
If there isn't a game plan, you can't just hold down W key and expect to be killing your opponents and get a guaranteed cap because of it. There needs to be more strategy behind it, which we know Exceed do have, but again, you don't want to be overconfident.
I like that call. And just to, again, throw a little bit of final credit towards Power in this map number 1, they weren't just working well together. They were doing it by staying proactive, staying aggressive. So I love that little identity that we're starting to see from the OCE representatives. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. First time, best time for all of us here. Let's talk a little bit about Hardpoint here as we have it set up. You talk about the team play that we really give a lot of credit towards Power. Problem is, if you're getting outslayed heavily in a respawn mode like Hardpoint, this game mode could snowball super quick.
Yeah, even if Power have the strategy of, well, this is where we want to hold when we're playing on Hardpoint, will you have the ability to do so if you've got a player like Peterbot on the other side, off spawn ripping your face off, for example. And one thing we noticed watching in scrims is that people don't necessarily take the right space they should in Hardpoint. There's a lot of defensive play by some of these players where they'll kind of sit in that hardpoint, wait for the other team to come to them. If you do that against Exceed, I think they're going to start to surround you, start to pinch you, and then they'll just wipe you out.
I like the call. But again, a lot of fun things happening from Power's perspective. And before the match, we had a chance to sit down and hear the thoughts of Looter, see what he had to say.
Welcome to the Amazon stage where I've got Looter here from Power. Looter, I'm going to keep this first question really simple. Exceed up first. How you feeling about it?
It is a big challenge, but I'm feeling about as good as we could. I'm ready to play.
Nice, just ready to go. You're not having to carry Lachlan in this one, so you're feeling
lucky.
good. Feeling good
They're
about
going to carry me instead.
So you're feeling good about basically being able to play your own game. How's the team chemistry coming along?
It was a little bit rough at the start, but now it's coming together very nicely.
And what's your kind of point of focus going into these 3 game modes as well? Like, because Keeper's fairly new, right? So what have you guys been primarily focusing on past few days?
Honestly, adapting in the moment, but also chemistry and synergy, because it's one of the most important things in these maps.
Well, Looter, I won't keep you for much longer because, you know, you've got a game to prepare for, so best of luck in your games. Thank you so much for joining me in the interview. We'll see you in a bit.
Good insight from Looter, I think in particular about, again, everyone's big focus is the new mode, playing Keeper. That was not played at the regionals. It was not played at DreamHack Dallas. So this is a fresh take for a lot of these teams when it comes to playing in the main stage.
I'm very excited to see Keeper. I mean, it's no secret. I watch a lot of Halo. I play a lot of Halo, and Oddball was a big thing. And Keeper seems to be very similar in that aspect. One of the key differences, play on words there, is that you can have the ability to shoot whilst holding that key, which is something that isn't necessarily the same in other competitive modes that follow a similar direction. And it has created for a very interesting dynamic of how you set up, how aggressive you want to be with your key holder. But of course, we can get into that later when we see the mode.
It's a good little marination, though. Thank you for teasing us all.
Just a little
sprinkle.
For everyone at home.
Love it. But we're loading on into what looks to be another chalet. We have not seen a Panther yet today. Wonder if that will change here as we go, but Hardpoint is, of course, going to be map number 2 throughout the entirety of this tournament. And the good news here for Exceed is they were nearly flawless at DreamHack Dallas when it comes to this mode. Their only loss was a 2-point loss to Falcons in their first meeting. So it feels like this is their bread and butter mode coming through this tournament.
Well, if you take all the positives away from that CTF game, their ability to outslay their opponents, to get all those eliminations on the board, the individual talent that we witness, if you implement all of that into Hardpoint, naturally points should come afterwards.
Sure.
It does seem a little less strategic than CTF at times, but I think when you get to the business end of this tournament and we start to see the biggest and best teams, you can't just W key. You are going to have to try and think, all right, what spawns are we going to be trying to see from our opponents here? How can we stop them from approaching us in certain angles? How can we defend in certain areas? And that's going to be something that you can maybe practice here in the early games.
I like that call, although I do feel a little offended that you think Hardpoint is not as strategic.
It's because it's from a game I think that you like to be involved with. Maybe that's what it is.
It's no personal bias.
Way more strategic, right?
Yeah, no personal bias whatsoever. As Exceed will start things off from the red side, and they will get early control of Pool. Bubble down early, though, so that's instantly denied by the shields. EMP coming through. Power looking to kind of pick away a couple of the eliminations. They go 2 for 1 initially, and the follow-up is really good. So a great opening break coming through for Power.
So that will allow them to get the early points here, but now it's about how much space can you take. You can already see 2 players still staying in P1, which will allow the spawners from Exceed to start to surround them.
Yeah, okay, it just jumps the wall, and whoa! Him helping with Quanti will actually team out the 2 players sitting inside the shield bubble. So counter break comes through for Exceed. Chance still for Power to get one more hit at this, but Peterbot, again, holding this rotation nicely. Volks also kept at arm's reach. Leads to a little bit more extra time. 13 seconds before we see a new hill open up.
And whilst I said spawns were pretty fast in CTF, they are almost instant here in Hardpoint. So it does mean if you're able to take down these players, they are very quickly going to be able to approach from their spawning direction. So the siphon is huge here. If you do get that kill, it's going to be very important to be as healthy as possible.
And as you head over towards P2, this is the Exceed side of the map. So what you'll often hear us talk about on these hardpoints is a team that is defending and a team that is attacking based on how the spawns work. This is a defensive hill for Exceed, but Power on their initial attack. Try to drop a shield bubble to get them a little bit closer towards the hill. Instantly denied by the EMP, and Exceed have held on nicely to the first 15.
Yeah, Power are going to be spawning towards the middle of the map. Exceed are going to be spawning pretty much next to this hardpoint, which is going to allow them to get a lot of points on the board, or should do, but you can see it's still a very big lead here for Exceed at the start of this one.
Alex, though, finds a double. Off the respawn, Exceed's trying to play recovery, and Quanti inside the shield bubble holds on a little while longer, and then the follow-up spawns, like you talked about, so darn close, allows Exceed to jump back in. So, hey, pretty clean overall for Exceed, all things told, but that's the expectation when you're defending a hill. You're looking for 45 seconds plus every single time it's on your side of the map.
And Hardpoint is when we should see the Assault class come into play. Having that extra Siphon can be massive. If you are the one within that Hardpoint can get that kill, just getting 60 Siphon rather than 40 could be the difference with staying alive, as Power starting to lose a couple of players, but Peterbot has also gone down.
Yeah, this has been good though for Power. Kind of making sure that this route over towards that kind of tunnel side is at least contested in some way. Then you can keep all of your focus towards this frontward hit that's coming over towards Cave. So again, this fire pit point, very difficult to break from. It's really just this one point of entrance from the front. Looter off the regen, in a little bit of trouble, just trying to finesse Dance a while, but it Succeed, who find a couple, and Okus will get in for a bit of contest.
Peterbot is trying to make a flank at the moment, and looks like there is going to be a chance to pick up a lot of kills if he gets into the right direction, but unable to do so. And that is going to be a case of Power, again, holding very well. When they do have the hard point, Power have looked pretty successful doing so.
All things told, though, again, for Exceed on the attack, the breaking squad, they get 15 seconds worth of time. That's going to be considered to be a net win. As now we rotate over towards the other side of this house, over towards the front side at tunnel. Power again will hold the advantage with their spawns being close. Alex top window, Volk's playing just outside the hill, but it's Exceed who actually currently possess the interior of the tunnel.
Interested to see where Peterbot holds right now as the marksman as well. He's playing pretty much dead center of that tunnel. Of course, can whip out that pistol, doesn't have to use the sniper rifle as well, but can use it to his very best.
Oh, able to find himself kind of on an island. 2 kills come through. Meelk's able to support. Bubble down. Peter now off the regen, can step away, and Exceed have done a miracle job here inside tunnel, just not even caring about what happens at mid-map. This has just been all bunker up. Trust your shots, and Peterbot showing exactly why that's the case. Mercy! Huge double from Peter, and Exceed now start to break this game wide open.
This is the POV I wanted to see, right? This is the player that has the chance to be the difference maker in these hills to ensure they get the kills on the board and have the extra player advantage, and Power just can't really shut down this dominance of this hardpoint right now.
This is exactly what we came to expect and what we saw with the DreamHack Dallas run that Exceed went on. Again, formerly known as Agent during that run, they were great in Hardpoint, and that was an unbelievable hill because now you rotate over to 5, and this is the one that's on the Exceed side of the map. So that's an incredible job on P4. Looter trying to get some focus on rotation, but shut down as Exceed continue to hold on to time.
This gap is got quite significant now, sadly, for the side of Power. They are able to get into P5 now. This is going to be their first chance at a hold, but again, there's 2 players pretty much within that hard point, and it's going to be so easy for Exceed to surround them.
And they're just littering this backside tunnel with utility, and the follow-up from Peterbot needs to get the reload off and will be shut down. Looter still holding. 1v1 with Okus, who's good for the elimination, and that'll be a flip of the hard point going the way of Exceed now.
Yeah, now Power are going to have to try and force their way off of spawn, but Okus taking a great position here to give that information to the rest of the team with the 3P, and actually being aggressive at the right time just to jump out when he needed to.
Absolute dominance from Exceed here on the hard point, and it's not stopping. The scrap time fully confirmed by Okus. We go back to pool. Worthy, Power, still in position with numbers, but can they find the eliminations they need? The answer is absolutely not. The flank from Peterbot is perfect, and Exceed will chain together P5 to P1.
Seems like Exceed have warmed up a little bit now, and they are all starting to fire on all cylinders, working far better together in this game, it has to be said. And they're all finding individual 1v1s that are successful. I thought Worthy was going to go down, but at least Power are able to get a kill or 2 here to keep things alive.
Yeah, they're just getting picked apart, legitimately. They haven't had a chance to set anything up because the individuals from Exceed keep foiling the plan before it can come together. Good EMP for Looter. Off the Siphon, a chance to possibly influence this hill, but Peterbot by himself, in and out of the bubble. He's got help nearby. Okus right there with him. Somehow, some way, he's still alive. Ow! Worthy will drop. They will not be able to win it here, but with the scrap 10 seconds going their way, they'll be pretty darn close.
21 limbs now for Peter. We heard from him. He said he was the best player in the game. He said he was going to dominate this lobby and this tournament, and he has done just that here in this game. He has really been allowed the freedom to use the marksman to full advantage, take those angles, and find those limbs.
He said what? He was going to be good for 25 every map. Not quite going to get there, but 250 to 75, I think is what I saw. So we like to call that in Call of Duty the old 100-point club coming through. Power absolutely blown out of map number 2.
That was the dominant performance we expected from Exceed. And even if I may have, tongue-in-cheek said less strategy in a hard point than a capture the flag, the strategy implemented worked out very successfully. It was the positioning of the classes they had available to them. Make sure that Peter has an angle on that marksman with the sniper rifle that can get the initial shot. Even if it's a body shot, the amount of damage that it can do will allow everyone else to clean up the 11.
Yeah, I mean, that's the presence that Peterbot brings. The ability to, like I kind of mentioned in the live moment of it, you stop the play before it happens. If you find that one trail kill before they can get their setup, their break attempt, it just pushes another 10, 15 seconds to your score every single time. It's just so key.
At what point am I allowed to call him Peter rather than Peterbot? Are we on first name basis yet just because I've casted one of his games now?
I think you have that luxury.
Is that how it works? Or I could just go with Bot, but that sounds like an insult.
You could go with Pete if you're. That's the next step. You could just go, it's Pete.
I don't think I'm there yet. Maybe
Petey?
tomorrow. Oh, that's day 3.
Yeah, that was just, again, that's backing up the talk that we've been hearing all through socials. We heard in the interview. And again, it starts off with this P1 break for Powers. Good patience. They're picking apart. It's very clinical, very methodical. But for me, it really comes down to P4. The fact that it was on the Power side of the map, they really don't get any time there much at all. That's where I think there is a big difference maker, and we see the presence and power, not to be wordplay, from Exceed being able to individually shut down spawns that are so close to Power.
It was the utility use that we saw from Exceed that really set them apart, I feel like, here in map number 2. The bubbles that went down to isolate some of those fights and to stay alive. There was one point Peter used the bubble to avoid a fight completely so that his teammate could come and assist him. And just the little things like that really set the difference between these two teams. And Power now will be 2-0 down. And even though we still have to give credit to Power, right? They have been playing very well and matching up fairly successfully against Exceed.
Yeah.
Now that you're 2 down, this is when it becomes a struggle.
And the thing about it, and this is where, I'll just throw it out there if you didn't see the Twitter post. Exceed is my pick to win this whole thing. And a lot of it came off the simple fact that watching them play Hardpoint, it may not have been the most team-worthy, clinical, perfect play, but their ability to just run through squads because they're outslaying them, I was like, give them 2 more months. Then you add in Keeper, which I think is also going to be, again, very reliant on how well individually you can clean up kills. This might be the slayest, or the heaviest slaying team that we have in the tournament, and I think we see elements of that, especially from Peter, throughout this whole replay package.
I want to give a shout out to Quanti as well. The ability to switch between the Assault or the Infiltrator on that fill roll just looks seamless. It doesn't seem to matter which class he's been playing. Has been flawless, I will say. Some of the strategy that's been implemented, whether it's taking out to get a quick flag pull, or whether it's just being that player that has the ability to get extra siphon within that hard point.
Love it. So now we take the conversation immediately in towards mode and map number 3. This is Keeper. If you watched that DreamHack Dallas, if you watched any of the coverage from the watch parties and things of the nature during the NA and the EU qualifiers, this mode was not played. We saw it in our first, obviously, series of the day, and we got a lot of inside information in terms of some of the key positions that we're going to be keeping our eye on throughout the entirety of this map.
We need to stop saying key positions at this point.
Sorry,
it sounds funny, right? But the setup that you're going to be seeing are when you have a key position and a chance to put a lot of time on the board. But are you going to be aggressive as a key holder?
Sure.
Are you going to be running away? Because one thing we've learned is if you are on that Infiltrator with the 25% extra speed, you have the ability to kind of get out of dodge and utilize a lot of the avenues on this map just to avoid sightlines.
I just got to have it be said, though, that we've been sabotaged, you mean, Dan? Because we can't call it, it's key and Keeper, and you can't say power positions when Power is playing. We've been set up for failure, friends.
It's unfair, really, how they treat us here, but, we'll get through it. As Power need to try and get through it here in map number 3.
Oh, that's real tough, though, because Power's thinking, let's just play from the outside of the key, drop in a shield, and then we'll just go grab it. But Milks actually just sneaks away with it for a little bit of early time. Immediately recovered, though, by Power, and they're just going to hold right essentially in the middle of the map here, trying to receive this next approach from Exceed.
It's about trying to get time, some scrappy time right at the start whilst the key is at the middle of the map, but then it's about moving it a little bit further towards one of those more ideal setups. We saw in map 1 today, match 1, it was over towards basement was one of the ideal areas.
Yeah, absolutely the case. You also got to keep in mind, and for all of you Giga Chads that love to watch both the first-person perspective and the minimap, keep in mind that the spawns can be a little crazy. If you're not receiving these attacking approaches all that well, your squad is going to be spawning behind the play. So it really puts a lot of pressure on your key carrier to stay alive, which to this point, Power, play really nice recovery, get the key right back in hand, and now we're going to flip the map, go to the other side.
Yeah, Power take the lead as well, and if they are going to have a comeback here, it could all start with Alex. I love this! Put the marksman with the key, because if you do get pushed, you've got a chance to just one-tap anyone.
And he breaks the camera up and over, but can't quite find the final player in Quanti, who also has Volks really low on HP. Worthy here to try to save the day, though, as the key stays idle at the moment. No one able to pick it up. Power eventually with these kills can recover, and this has been great objective focus for Power.
But one thing we did mention, or you mentioned to me before this broadcast, right? If it's going to be any map in mode, Keeper is the best chance for Power. They put a lot of practice in. It wasn't a map we saw previously. It wasn't a mode we saw previously, should I say. So it does give that opportunity for Power to try and take one away from the favorite Succeed.
Well, Peterbot, keep in mind that he's not running the marksman right now. So this very well may be Exceed not running a sniper at all, I don't believe. Kind of important to note that the compositional changes and the specialists have been a thing in every single one of our maps at this point. But Power will drop the key, Quanti there to pick it up. Milks, Hocus, Peter, all giving him a proper zone to try to keep him safe as long as possible.
Which I'm wondering, are you running Assault and Infiltrator at that point?
Have to be, right?
Because we very rarely see the medic coming to the equation. The healing doesn't really seem to be anything that people play, but that's the ability of the marksman. The damage output on the sniper is insane.
Hocus able to keep the key carrier safe once again. A different rotation coming out for Exceed. Keep your eye on Volks, though, because him and Alex have actually spawned kind of behind this play. So Quanti may not expect the pinch that's already on the way, but his teammates finding kills from the front. He will join with the power of Exceed, but tough to find much space to work with, at least comfortably enough, as Power continue to find a couple of kills, but they get all shut down immediately from the triple out of Milks.
See Quanti on the Infiltrator there for that extra speed, but one thing I have noticed with Power, they do hold hands well. They will always ensure they're in a duo to try and get a 2 versus 1 advantage if they catch a player off guard.
Well, the problem is, every time we look up at the elimination feed, there's a double or a triple coming through from somebody out of Exceed. Worthy able to find a double. Now an opportunity for Power to start to surround onto Quanti. Kill comes through. One trade in the mix. Is there enough for Hocus to still hold on to this battle? Power's being held back just a touch. Key is still down. Exceed are going to be able to re-wrap around the back and actually contest this again.
Yeah, Exceed get the wrap, and it's a very successful wrap that they can work with. Now they just have to go off the back of damage, find the key, and start putting some points on the board. And there will be the key available, and the choice is Peter to hold it. If you want anyone who has the individual talent to kind of take a 1v3, you want Peter on it.
To be the case as he will go up towards tower. Now, this feels like a great spot because you can see a lot, but it is easy to shoot him out and, of course, also toss nades. Mantle over, not going to work out. Peter getting aggressive, and him and Quanti will combine for 2, and a chance here for Exceed to put this one maybe a little bit further out of contest as they break the century mark.
Obviously, the SMG is nuts as well for Peter. Some say it's the best gun available in this mode, and if you put it on a player who is confident to engage in a lot of these fights, you are going to see him find some success. And now it's going to be a tower setup, which is a difficult one, especially if any of the dynamite or grenades can be tossed up here.
I think the thing about this position, though, we were talking about this with Brav and Onset for touches, as much as the tower may not be fully safe, you do ensure that no one spawns behind you. So it gives you some map control in terms of what you can expect, and that's what we're starting to see here. Milks, Peter, combined for eliminations, and that will put this well out of contest for round number 1. Exceed, regardless of what the final score ends up being, we'll take this first round.
Yeah, despite some early dominance from Power and just keeping Exceed at arm's length, as soon as Exceed got true control, we've seen from them how dominant they can be when they get an actual setup. And I think that's where Exceed are going to be at their very best throughout this tournament, is when they're not in a scrappy fight in the middle of the map, but actually allowed to get to one of those ideal setups.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And, ooh, is this insult to injury here for Exceed? They've got the key right behind them, but they're saying, come fight us a little bit longer. And that will eventually get us to the 150 score threshold to win the first round. Again, this map is still a quote-unquote best of 3 rounds overall. So advantage here towards Exceed to start. Decent moments from Power, but again, I think there's going to be some conversation to be had after day number 1 of, with Keeper, do you want to put yourself against an out-of-bounds area of the map so no one spawns behind you, or do you prefer to play more kind of towards the middle of the map with a position that is a little bit easier to hold on, as Quanti will get the double bubble down, find the key, and immediately retreat back to safety.
Very aggressive, knowing that you've got the protection of said bubbles there, and now you can get away, now you can get some time on the board, and Power already being shut down here, but there is a nice trade coming out. 2 will fall. But Power, I feel like it's the same thing we were mentioning in the previous game, right? Strategy is there for them, but it's just the individual ability of some of these Exceed players that is just taking it away from them.
It feels that way. So we head back over towards double doors. This is, again, that back corner of the map that tower position is near. Hocus Looter in position to try to take this 1v1. Help from Meelks. Again, the teamwork from Exceed really starting to come to life. Volks is in trouble, has to keep his head at a swivel, and just gets flat out overwhelmed. Worthy, last one left, dealt with. Meelks will find 3 in the feed again, as Okus will retreat back behind double doors for some extra time.
Bonzi got an insane spawn there to very quickly get back into the action here as well, and I do think that we are seeing Exceed very much play towards the spawners with the key. As soon as they've lost a member, the key holder will continue to move towards the spawners to ensure they have as much of an advantage as possible.
Yep. Power will spawn to that bottom side of the minimap. Peter and the rest of Exceed still trying to track this thing backward just a touch. Even exchange, an elimination feed. Power able to at least shred the key off the back of Meelks. Volks picks it right back up and then heads to safety. Again, just playing this bottom corner of the map where this tower is.
Yeah, tower set up again. Oh, that's going to be a dodgy one, but at least you're going to be able to maybe get a bubble down as a backup here. But sadly, the bubble is not enough. And that's one of the downsides of the tower setup. You just feel too vulnerable for me.
Yeah, if your setup doesn't provide, a line of scrimmage that kind of encompasses this entire front side of double doors, it is, I think, just easy to get completely snowballed on. But Power, once again, find a couple of kills, trying to track back to take down Quanti, who was on the way out. Shots from both sides. Looter, first one up, and that's enough. So 3 kills in the feed again. Power right back in it.
That was really good at isolating Quanti there, recognizing where the last player was and ensuring he got shut down before the spawners then arrived for Exceed.
Peterbot, Exceed, trying to make their play back forward. Looter looking for some ground to work with. Not going to happen. It's all 4 members down. Exceed once again in a position to quickly recover the key and just essentially swap sides. But Power spawns pretty close. They can still battle for this. Key not in hand at the moment for either of our 2 squads, so we stay essentially tied until Exceed can finally find the vacancy to pick it up.
Power spawned close, but Exceed spawned even closer.
Yep.
And now there's the chance for Peter to continue his kind of just absolute craziness that we've seen so far. Again, it's another 20 elimination game for him, and it doesn't seem to matter what class you put him on, he's still finding success.
Quanti, again, on this Infiltrator specialty, is going to have that extra movement speed. He has kind of faked out Power a touch. He went over towards Cliff and now has tracked back over towards where the Exceed spawns are, which is once again on this bottom corner. It definitely feels like Exceed prefer this side of the map, trying to control spawns as best as they possibly can, but difficult to do, easy to say, as Power find a couple of kills and immediately find recovery.
Yeah, again, Exceed were trying to run that key towards the spawners, but Power will recover, will be on the board, and this one is still close. Exceed have not been able to get the same setup and start to break away like they did in the first round here.
Great EMP initially from Looter, follow-up. Help from Worthy is good. Just need to take care of Worthy, or pardon me, from Quanti, and that will be enough, again, to create some space to breathe. Power going to get above 70 points, looking solid to get this thing back to a tie game as Exceed has to try to once again attack from the front.
Exceed are all going to be sending it together as a 4 though, well, as a 3, excuse me, whilst Peterbot is making a flank round behind. Power needs to be careful they don't get pinched, but you can see they're trying to move this key away from them and rotate as a unit.
Well, Meelks once again good for 2. Feels like every time we're on his perspective, he's finding a handful in the feed. Nearly gets a 3rd. Now the hunt is on. Alex down low, the only one with full HP, but he gets completely caught off. Meelks again, another double. He is popping off 31 kills for Meelks, and he's not done yet with still a minute to play in round 2.
Decent amount of kills for Worthy as well. 29 eliminations on the board, but now we're going to see Exceed with a chance to hold this. And remember, keep an eye on that timer. It is a small lead for Exceed, but only 47 seconds left on the clock.
That's the big thing about this. Power going to have the pressure, kicked up just a touch. Peter back over, feels the presence of Looter on the way in. Elimination is good. Now, it's just down to Volks, who also gets taken care of. And now, all of a sudden, Power are a bit staggered. You got to find a way to get yourself set up. 30 seconds all left on the clock.
30 seconds, but 20 points behind here. You have to push now, and you have to get the key, which they do. This is the chance, but you can see there's a last chance dip from Quanti to get the kill, but Power look like they are just able to hold on, but look at the clock shift. It is not going to be enough.
No, mathematically, it becomes impossible here for Power. Tough scenes, man. They put up one heck of a fight. And this ending score will be close, but again, the math does not favor the team out of OCE, and Quanti's gonna let them know about it. A little extra curricular action happening at the end of map number 3, and that will be a, I won't say super comfortable 3-0 for Exceed, but hey, it's still a 3-0 to kick off the tournament.
We saw enough from Exceed to understand why they are one of the favorites at this tournament, if not the favorite, of course. There are plenty of other teams that are up there in that discussion, but definitely a team that everyone needs to keep their eye on, not just for Peter. I know there's been a lot of talk about Peterbot and his individual skill, but the strategy implemented in every single game type we saw seemed to be pretty spot on, and I do feel like they were maybe at 75% of everything they can put forward here.
I think, again, for me, it's just what is this squad going to give us in terms of their objective focus? Because it definitely feels like the air of confidence that they've got about them is all about, we're individually better than you. The thing about it is, and we see this in a variety of 4v4 titles, sometimes that doesn't make a difference if you lose focus on the objective. So I think in particular, my big question marks for Exceed is, can they continue to polish up their CTF and maybe figure out a meta in terms of what we're going to see for Keeper?
And one of the most interesting developments from that third map was switching Peterbot off of the marksman.
Good call.
Considering he is up there as one of the best marksmen, if not the best marksman that is in the game at the moment, and then to say, well, in Keeper, we don't think the marksman is as valuable on Peter, and they moved him over with the ability